It is Friday, and I am so tired of being thoughtful and substantive, so I'm not going to do that anymore. What I'm going to do is find some fun people to discuss the week's underserved headlines, some of the best and least thinky stories that I could find that we're going to do. If you're new to the program, on Wednesdays and Thursdays, we do a flagship episode where I talk to a thought leader or an author, sometimes a British lord. And on Fridays, I bring on degenerate friends of mine to discuss funny stories. So Wednesday's the salad. Friday is the after-dinner shots that we're doing in the kitchen with the chefs. That's what you're exposing yourself to. And the chefs that I am bringing on today are Jeremy Kareken, back again. Welcome back, Jeremy.
Good to be here.
Jeremy is a playwright, a very funny person, a former speechwriter for Gary Johnson, and also a COVID survivor, which I didn't know about. Congratulations, Jeremy.
Thank you. It's good to be on this side of the dirt.
Yeah, good, great. And new to the program and introduced by Jeremy is Joe Terwilliger. Joe is a neurobiologist, genetics professor. What are you exactly?
Geneticist, yeah.
He's a geneticist. And you might wonder, why am I bringing on a geneticist instead of a comedian, as I usually do? The reason is, in addition to Jeremy assuring me that you're pretty funny, Joe, you're also apparently the official translator for Dennis Rodman when he goes to North Korea. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, I basically organize his trips and I liaise with the North Koreans and I go with him and sort of, mostly it's not translating what he says. They have an official translator, but I have to sometimes explain what Dennis said in English. And correct them if they get it wrong when they translate it to Korean.
Wait, I'm already lost here. So they have a translator.
Have you ever listened to Dennis Rodman talk? It's a challenge.
Sometimes he'll say, "Tell that guy that thing." You know that thing.
So
tell him. Just tell him. I have to know what that thing is.
You're not an English to Korean translator. You're a Dennis Rodman to English translator.
He's also an English Korean.
In a sense, but I speak Korean. I studied North Korean in China for years, and I used to teach at the university in North Korea, so I can speak North Korean.
He translates from backward walker, as Phil Jackson called him, into forward walker as well. So.
Yeah, and I mean, I basically correct it when their official translator can't understand, because their official translator studied English in Zimbabwe and Guyana, the most friendly, English-speaking countries they have, and they don't speak like Dennis Rodman.
Well, nobody speaks like Dennis Rodman. As I recall, isn't Dennis Rodman from some other planet? At least that's what happens in Spaceball 2, or not Spaceball 2. There's some basketball.
In the TV show, in the Third Rock from the Sun.
Oh, is he from another planet in Third Rock from the Sun?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Wait. So, I have to keep unpacking this. So, do you get on a private plane with Dennis Rodman and fly with Dennis Rodman to North Korea?
No, we just go on commercial airlines.
Okay. All right. Okay.
And we fly to Beijing, and then we take the North Korean airline to North Korea. And from Beijing,
does he just go sightseeing? Does he meet with the head of North Korea?
It depends. I mean, the first time I went with him, I didn't go the first time. The first time he went with a group from Vice magazine.
Okay,
and then
that checks out.
In that year, I was teaching there that summer in North Korea, and I saw online that there was an auction to win the right to play horse with Dennis Rodman. So I invested $2,500. I won the auction. I played horse with Dennis, and I basically talked about North Korea. And he said, "Oh yeah, I want to go back. I just don't know how to go back. Can you help me go back?" So I talked with his agent and everything. We set up a return trip. And so the first trip we went on, it was because Kim invited him to come on vacation with Kim's family. So we just went to Kim's house and hung out for a week.
So you're a geneticist who's now at Columbia, and you became the translator for Dennis Rodman because you auctioned. You won the auction to play basketball with him, and he vacations with Kim Jong-un, the leader of North Korea.
That was the first time. Okay. Yeah, we were invited to vacation, and so
Okay. He's also a professional.
And the whole government, the girl band, everything was there. It was great.
He's also a professional tubist and professional Abraham Lincoln impersonator.
Oh, are you a Lincoln impersonator?
True. Well, this is funny because I'm a tuba player, right? And I had the beard and no mustache. Because you can't have a mustache and play tuba.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay,
you lose your embouchure,
right? So. I'm on the subway coming home from a gig one year with a beard and a tuxedo in February, and everyone's giggling. I don't realize why. And my hair is kind of wavy when it's not all wet. And so they're all laughing. And one guy came up to me and said, "You want a gig tomorrow night? Pays $500, starts at midnight." And I'm like, "Cool." He gave me the address. So I showed up, and I had my tube, and he's like, "What's that?" I go, "It's a should be a picture. He goes, no, aren't you a Lincoln impersonator? So, well, okay, sure. And basically the job was to just wear the suit and get drunk and take pictures with hot chicks.
Wait.
And that's all I did all night for $800. And I did it 2 nights, and I was doing it every year for several years.
Okay, hold on.
I got paid. It was the American dream. I got paid on the basis of my appearance. When is this appearance?
Because so right now I'm clean shaven, so you can't tell because I look kind of a Craigslist Paul Rudd. But if I have a beard going for me, I look very Lincoln-esque very quickly.
There you go.
And I did not know that hot girls and getting drunk was a part of this equation. I thought that as a Lincoln impersonator, it would exclusively be me soberly addressing middle school classes. I thought that would be my life. So you're telling me this is
me going in nightclubs and having beautiful women, come over to me and pose in various positions.
I get Taft and Scalia, so that only works out at Supreme Court parties.
Jeremy, I forgot that you're the world's foremost Scalia impersonator. You got in a lot of trouble for that in the 90s, back when you were trying to get free drinks in D.C.
Lasagna eating contests, things like that.
You have to get the fancy robe.
Wait, so Joe, have you ever been to this thing called Lincoln, which is a Lincoln pub crawl? Have you been invited to that?
I've never heard of it.
Okay, so I'm going to ask everybody listening to the program to not listen to what I'm about to tell Joe unless they are designated Lincoln impersonators. Just
certified.
Put it on mute.
Try
not to pay attention to any of this because this is not public information. But when I left my TV writing job, I was a TV writer in New York for a couple of years. My boss, Kennedy, the former MTV VJ, she knows how I work, and so she hired a Lincoln impersonator to come to my going away party to drink with us at the bar. And I'm hanging out at the bar, drinking pints with Lincoln, and I have a beard at this time. And so he comes over a drink and a half in and goes, me and the other Lincoln impersonators have a pub crawl every year if you're interested. And I was like, really? And it's in Peekskill, New York. It's called Drinking with Lincoln. That's it. It's not Lincoln. That's another thing. It's Drinking with Lincoln. And I turned up to that, and there was a handful of Lincoln impersonators. There wasn't as many as you thought. There was only like 5 or 6 Lincoln impersonators, which is still a lot.
Well, that year they probably decided to end it with a play, and that's a terrible way to
go. Yeah.
Well, one year I had a guy with a big mustache who looked like John Wilkes Booth chase me around to every bar in New York with a balcony and shoot me. It was pretty fun.
I'm gonna email you because my career's been pretty weird, and I feel like Lincoln impersonator actually makes the most logical sense for me when I hit my 40s. Like I'm in my mid 30s right now, but when I start getting like proper gray, I think that's going to be my next career move. So okay, awesome.
Well, women love him.
Yeah, I mean. Honestly, whatever I've been doing hasn't been working so great, so why not? Let's just embrace the Lincoln impersonator thing, and there's got to be some woman with a Lincoln fetish out there that, you tap into it.
There's a lot of them. I'll send you pictures.
That could be the ultimate daddy issue, I'm thinking now, because it's like father of the country and like all this other stuff. So yeah, I'm gonna give some thought to this.
One year I had George Washington with me, and everyone preferred Lincoln.
Really?
It was amazing.
Well, slaveholder. There you go.
And we were going around asking women if they would pose for an ad, and I said, "Hi, I'm Abe Lincoln, and I did not have sexual relations with this woman." And half of them said, "You can if you want to."
Wow. What I did when I was 3 sheets to the wind as a Lincoln impersonator is I would introduce myself by going, "Hello, I'm President Lincoln Douglas." Because I did Lincoln Douglas debate in high school, and would just see who picked up on that.
So you argue with yourself.
Yeah. It was great. It was a lot of fun. Anyway, I've gotten sidetracked, but I'm all the same. This has been very pertinent to everything that we're going to discuss today. I feel like I like
how you said you've had a weird career with the band who's had the weirdest career of anyone in the planet. I'm
Joe, you actually exemplify. So I've got, when I was in college, I was a part of those kind of like top 10 seniors outfits, like the Type A personality, ladder climbers, all those. And I was always kind of like the token weirdo that they'd invite in. Like I'd be the eccentric that they'd bring on to kind of color the thing up. And I like a lot of the other Type A ladder climbers, you could see they'd go into a room and they'd scan the room and they'd look for whoever the most important person was, make a beeline, and then go talk to him. And I developed this whole other career method where I was like, that feels very shallow to me. I don't want to make connections with people based on that person seems important. Maybe I can get something out of them. I think that there's something
kind of sociopathy. I would think.
I don't like that. What I have come up with is I try to make friends with the most interesting people I can find. And my experience has been, one, I have a really fun time. I get into weird stuff like the Drinking with Lincoln and just odd things. And as a byproduct of that, interesting people tend to have interesting opportunities where they'll end up calling you and they're like, hey, I'm friends with the Crown Prince of Japan, and we're going to ride his yacht this weekend and fire cannons at his old yacht. You want to come? Like that kind of stuff. And like, Joe, you exemplify that. I feel like you were the patron saint of what I just described.
You've got to go to one of his weirdo parties one of these days. I met a woman there that married ghosts for a year, and that was something.
Wait, isn't she?
She got married in all 50 states.
Isn't she officiated ghosts, or she married 50 ghosts?
No, she married a ghost after she married in every state for a movie, and then she married a ghost in China, a dead guy.
She's like a marriage performance artist.
Would she divorce the previous spouse before marrying the next one?
No.
So
and you can't kill him because she's already cool with the dead.
So she
and some of them were like a horse and the Liberty Bell and things when she couldn't find a man, you know.
So she's a ghost and a bigamist. I'm sorry, she's not a ghost. She's married to ghosts and she's a bigamist. And including that also is like a horse and some other things. Wow, okay.
Yep.
Her Christmas card must be amazing. Like she has to hire a graphic designer just to figure out what's going on.
Yep.
All right, okay, good. 11-minute warm up. This is great. I'm feeling really good about this, but we do have some sort of obligation to get to the headlines of the week. And so this is a hard-hitting news program. We are 3 Walter Cronkites here. And so the first headline of the week comes to us from Japan. 3 grannies in Japan call themselves the Monkey Busters and ward off crop-eating monkeys with air guns. Rural Japan's most powerful protection against crop-damaging animals is no longer the terrifying robo-wolf, more on that in a minute, but air gun-toting grannies. In Japan's Fukui province, prefecture, a group of 3 women have armed themselves with air guns. Basically, there's these 3 women that are like the volunteer fire department of rural Japan, where monkeys will descend on the crops. They'll put out the granny signal, and these 3 women will just come running out of their house with air guns and start firing at monkeys. And I read this whole thing. I went down a rabbit hole on this, and my synopsis of this whole program is rural Japan sounds so much more interesting than rural Kansas. Like I'd say at least 500 times more entertaining than rural Kansas. I've been to rural Kansas. I've been to rural Oklahoma. I'm going to say like the average amount of concern a farmer has for monkeys is very, very low. And they don't even have grandmothers. They just have like scarecrows.
I've been to rural Kansas, and they're more interested in monkeys than you might think. The monkeys that went to space are kept in Independence, Kansas, or near Independence, Kansas.
What?
Yes.
So there's a space monkey retirement program in Independence, Kansas?
He's not there, but yes. Yes. It's retirement. The zoo in rural Kansas does keep the retired space monkeys there.
Oh my God! And are there still monkeys alive? Because I don't know when the last time we shot a monkey up there.
Last time I was there was 2004, and there was an old monkey there that was still kicking it. He was a chimp, or I guess in a grade 8. But yeah, it's the primate part of their the Independence Zoo.
This is amazing. My favorite zoo on the planet. Sadly, it's shut down. I'm going to pour one out for it. But Little River Zoo in Norman, Oklahoma, was a zoo exclusively populated by animals rejected from wealthier zoos. It was the farm team zoo, and all of the monkeys were either
pets.
Rat
section.
There was if you wanted to pet a kangaroo, you could, because ours was blind. His name was Billy, and he just kind of hanged out. There were a couple of tigers that had attacked magicians, and there were a bunch of monkeys. And some of them were just pets that didn't turn out really well, but most of them were retired organ grinding monkeys. You know, the do-do-do-do-do-do-do, like that thing. They all wound up in Norman, Oklahoma. And once a year, because I asked them, I took a date there one time, and I asked one of the guards or zookeepers. I asked one of the zookeepers. I was like, "What do you do when the monkeys get out?" And they were like, "They don't get out." And I was like, "But seriously though, what do you do?" And they're like, "Well, you see the big one, Goliath. He gets out about once a year. And so what we do is we just leave bottles of schnapps around the park, and he drinks it and passes out." And I was like, "This is the greatest zoo in the world." You
have to go to the Pyongyang Zoo. They have a monkey who they throw him cigarettes. He lights them and smokes.
Here in America, with health and safety gone mad, we don't have any smoking monkeys.
You get the smoking monkey with the schnapps drinking monkey, and you got a party.
Right. And they're going to have a monkey. They'll have a monkey child that they don't even realize until 4 months later.
With fetal alcohol syndrome.
I am so strongly tempted to just turn this entire podcast into a program about monkey news and Lincoln impersonators, and just that would be everything.
That was the Ricky Gervais podcast. That was their best part, was monkey news.
Monkey news, yeah. I totally agree. What, Joe? Were you telling me off air that you were also drinking like bear bone liquor or something when you were hanging out with the North Koreans?
Jeremy drank bear bone liquor. I brought some back.
What? What is that? Is it what I think it is?
It's made from bear bones.
Okay, that's what I thought it was. What does it taste like?
They have tiger bone also.
Because I assume that's like a weird Asian like medicine type thing. Did it give you an erection, Jeremy?
I think so. They have all kind of weird animal parts for sale in Korea, China. Frog fat, reindeer antlers, bear bones. Everything's supposed to put lead in your pencil.
Yeah. What'd you think, Jeremy?
No, it didn't put any lead in my pencil. It nearly got me sick. But it has this odd cinnamony taste, which wasn't bad.
People don't realize that bears taste like cinnamon. At least their bones do.
I assume it's the botanicals they add afterwards. I bet the bear bones don't add too much flavor.
Yeah, probably. That makes sense. I had when I went to Vietnam a couple of years ago. I went to I can't remember the name of it, but I went to a snake village, and I was the one guy there. That went to the local snake restaurant, and the guy came out, and it was a wonderful example of both technology and mistranslation, because he didn't speak any English and I didn't speak any Vietnamese, and so I came in and like kind of gestured like I would like to eat a snake, and he was like, great. And so he pulls a phone out and he types something in, and I look at the text on the phone, and it says like snake squeezed last Thursday. And I was like, I think that means that they pooped last Thursday, and I guess that's a good thing. That's like the equivalent of buying fresh fish or something. So I was like, great. And so he goes.
I like to go for a good fresh squeezed snake.
Yeah, I don't want an unsqueezed snake. I don't want to do. If I'm going to eat snake, I don't want any snake poop in my snake. And he comes back and he brings out like this big ass, really pissed off snake, and he presents it to me like a bottle of Pinot Noir, and I'm like, oh yes, this is indeed a snake, please cook this for me. But he just turns around and flings it, whack, and just brains the thing on a table, and then like basically orange squeezes it into a bucket of plastic jug Vietnamese moonshine, and he's like, here you go. And the rest of the meal tasted really fine as a result of that. Although I would add that if you ever have snake juice, it was like snake bile vodka, you would think that the moonshine would overpower the snake bile, and you are wrong. You are very aware you're drinking snake bile that entire time. It is it's almost theological. It's 100% snake bile and 100% moonshine, and you're fully cognizant of both components.
That's not the food I'm used to.
Yeah.
No.
All right, I'm gonna kick it over to Missouri. Missouri doctor loses license for amputating toe on porch. This comes to from Jefferson City. A Western Missouri doctor has lost his state medical license after amputating a patient's gangrenous toe on the porch of his rural office that doubled as a machine shed. The Missouri State Board of Registration for the Healing Arts revoked John Ur's physician license in June, and he is protesting this, says the toe amputation, everything was absolutely perfectly sterile out in the bright sunshine and fresh air. And he cannot be reinstated for 2 years. I believe he's 73 years old. So it's 2 years that he's been on probation.
And he meant to amputate this toe.
Yes.
Right? It wasn't like he didn't drop a chainsaw and go, I'll just call it an amputation.
See, no, that was my thing, is he should have just said it was an accident. Like, that's what, like, I think if you're going to get in trouble, and apparently the dude, like, that he cut the toe off of, the reason that he did it was the guy was, like, afraid of hospitals to the point that his toe had gone gangrenous. So I'm thinking if you're a doctor in that situation, cut the toe off, and then be like, oh, no, my lawnmower. Oh, man, sorry, Bob. And then just don't fill out any paperwork, because I don't think you have to fill out paperwork for accident toes, do you?
Well, I think when I read the thing, that's actually what he got in trouble for, strangely. It wasn't that he amputated the toe. It's that he didn't write it in the medical records until 7 months later. And then he prescribed him opiates as painkiller without, needing it. So it was all those things. But it was interesting that it was the failure to keep records is what he got technically busted
So
for.
it was bookkeeping. It was off the book toe cutting
Yeah,
that got him in trouble.
Toe gangrene slice.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So I'm
yeah, I wonder if you put that in moonshine.
Yeah. Oh God, I can't. I think that would make you the devil or something. Like it would like you would become a Stephen King character if you drank toe moonshine. Like I think you would.
There is a toe liquor.
What?
Where in Canada, it is. It's called the sour toe cocktail. It goes
toe cheese.
No, it was a toe that. It's embalmed it's been there for hundreds of years. It takes place in the Yukon. It was frozen off or something because of.
Wait, so is it just one toe and they just drop it in a bucket of liquor as sort of ceremonial
thing? It stayed
thing?
there forever, and occasionally someone accidentally drinks it, and then they got to wait a couple days to,
right,
and then they got to re-sterilize it and whatever.
Got to see if they're.
Yeah.
Okay, nice. All right.
It's a thing.
You know what? Honestly, I think about that. I feel like if it's been 100 years. That it's like it's it's at that point it's basically just a prop. It's not so much you're not really drinking much of that toe, I guess. Have you guys ever heard? This isn't an American expression, but have you ever heard the expression "tapping the admiral"?
Yeah. Wait a minute. Yes.
It's not nearly as dirty as you think it is. It's an English expression. It's an older English expression that means to get drunk or to have a drink. And
right.
the reason for that is because Lord Nelson. When he was is it Lord? Yeah, it's Lord Nelson. So he was shot during the Battle of Trafalgar.
Kiss me, Hardy.
Yeah, exactly. And he says, "Kiss me, Hardy." And then the English spent like 100 years going, "No, actually, he said kismet, which means destiny." They weren't gay. They
He was
really
a sailor.
were bothered by that for a while. But yeah, he dies.
Lick me all over, Hardy's probably what he said.
But he dies off the coast of Spain. It's really hot. They need to get his heroic corpse back to England, so they put it in a bottle of Madeira, a barrel of Madeira,
Rum
which
or
is
port or whatever.
Port. Yeah. And when they get back to England, there's only like a quarter of the Madeira left because the sailors had drank it on the way. And I don't they might have even known. I don't know. But anyway, tapping the admiral, expression for you guys. From France, French minister defends precious right to sunbathe topless. France Interior Minister has defended the precious right to sunbathe topless on beaches after police asked a group of women to cover up on the southern coast. French gendarmes, gendarmes, patrolling a beach in the Mediterranean seaside town of Sainte-Marie-la-Mer last week asked a group of topless sunbathers to cover up in response to a complaint from a family, and that set off a whole chain of events where...
Let me guess, the family was English or American?
I don't think it says, but actually there's a decent chance. I looked into the statistics on this. You would think that all French people are naked at least 3 times a week, but apparently the amount of sunbathing in France has really plummeted over the last 3 or 4 decades. So according to the polls that we have, and I assume that this is like the top data of the French government. This is, I imagine 15% of French resources goes to this kind of thing. Less than 20% of French women aged under 50 now sunbathe topless, compared with 28% 10 years ago and 43% in 1984, according to a recent survey by pollsters of 5,000 Europeans, including 1,000 French people. 2 thoughts on this.
I was in Nice in 1984, and they considered it an honor, and as did I. When I was there, I was just in high school there, and this was I was my sophomore year. I was thrilled to be there, but they were they were proud that they sunbathed topless.
Were they okay?
It was French.
Were they attractive? Because I feel like everywhere I've been in life where nudity is permitted, it only brings out the people you don't want to see naked.
These were high schoolers. They were attractive, but it very quickly gets normalized.
Yeah. Okay.
These were, I remember them very well, but you kind of have to for the first 5 minutes, you're like, this is very interesting. I love this. Then you realize, oh, these are just a couple of flesh sacks on the front of on the front of people. So then you just kind of get bored of it, and you got to be like, okay, I just have to remember this and deposit it in the wank bank for later. So,
which apparently deposit's successful, given that you remember this.
I still remember it. Yeah,
1984.
But it's also hot out, so you're not actually that interested. Mm-hmm. It wilts more than salad. Mm-hmm. So,
and you didn't have any bare bone liquor with you, so you were out of luck. So yeah.
I mean, technically, wasn't there a court case in New York several years ago that said women are allowed to be topless anywhere in New York City because men are.
In New York State,
and we
it's
encourage
Rochester.
them to exercise their freedoms. They just don't seem to do it very often.
Yeah,
but we have more freedom than France in that only that one area because we have no freedom at all right now.
That's right, exactly. The top 7, they were from Rochester, New York, and Coppsville Park. I was about 10 minutes from where I was born.
I had on Twitter, he is known as Popat, but in real life, he's Ken White, and he's a very, very high-level civil attorney and a constitutional rights lawyer. And I had him on, and we talked about how public decency laws work in the United States, and there's very specifically devised methods to determine whether something is indecent or not. It's done at the local level, and it has to either be something involving scatology or genitals specifically. So if you have like a man decides to wear like lingerie or something, you probably couldn't prosecute that because it's not like unless it's up front, you can't like if you're the Footloose town or whatever, you can't do that. But I'm thinking I want to drop all of that and just do the whole thing based off of body weight index or body mass index, and just like how much do you weigh? Yeah, you're fine. Go. You don't have to wear any clothes. You can do whatever you want. Yeah, but like
and age.
Huh?
And age.
Yeah. But you know what? I'm going to say all bets are off in Florida. I think Florida should have zero. Like I think if Florida should just be just 100% do whatever you want. Like because it's already basically
naked granny monkey hunters.
Yes, which I think should be the new state flag of Florida. It should just be 3 old ladies that are naked hunting monkeys with guns up in the air.
That's the answer. I think you've come to it because it's not women being nude or men being nude or whatever is not. That's not. People are afraid of sexual excitation. So if you just had a bunch of grannies with air guns, and the nude men are getting interested, you'll
right. No, that's a good point because they're going to be empowered to deal with it, and this is. I think we've come up with a really good solution to this.
Japanese bed snake hunters.
Yeah. Episode title: Japanese bed snake hunters. An Arkansas farmer disguised himself as a woman to sneak into a cemetery and deface the grave of his longtime nemesis with animal carcasses, according to the police. This comes to us from Benton County, Arkansas. A man named Joseph Stroud, 78 years old, allegedly snuck into a cemetery disguised as a woman.
Allegedly,
kept leaving. Yeah, because it hasn't been prosecuted yet. Although I believe he has been arrested.
He's got all this animal blood and these.
They found that.
There's a photo on the link. There's a photo of him dressed in like a woman putting the possum on the grave.
Yeah, and they like got a warrant for his house and found like a towel smeared with animal blood. So this all signs point to David Stroud did this.
I think there's a reasonable doubt in this one.
The thing that weirds me out about this is the family of the aggrieved party, I don't know the name of the dead guy, but the grandchildren of this dead guy have found 16 animal carcasses on this gravesite. And it's the 16th that freaks me out. Because if your nemesis dies and you leave one dead pig on the grave, that's understandable. I feel like I get that, right? If you leave 3 dead pigs, that's hilarious. But if you leave 16 dead pigs, what are you doing with your life? Just have a barbecue. That's a lot of wasted meat that you could be eating, even if it is a possum. After the 3rd animal, just eat it yourself.
It's Arkansas.
And get over it.
Possums,
And he's 78.
Yeah.
He's 78.
Yeah, what else
are you going to do with your life?
This guy needs a hobby.
He needs a hobby. Everyone needs a hobby.
You know what I think it is? I think that this was the dead guy is what got this guy up in the morning. He probably had a 30-year period of intense rivalry where he'd wake up and be like, I'm going to stick it to Jeb today. I'm going to go over and put a snake in his mailbox or whatever. And then the guy dies and he's like, I won. And goes to the funeral and gloats and everything, hits all the grandchildren. And then the following day he's like, I don't know what to do with myself anymore. And so he's trying to revive this rivalry by leaving pig carcasses on the grave. Somebody needs to help this guy out, that's what I'm saying. I think he definitely needs help.
I'd like to see a monologue where it's kind of a rapprochement between the ghost and the guy who's still got a fresh possum with him. That'd be a fun little
Maria
story.
to marry the ghost.
Good. Yeah. There you go. Do either of you have a nemesis? I feel like I'm doing things wrong. I don't have an arch enemy, a nemesis.
I do. His name is Nils Olaf, and he is a penguin that lives at the Edinburgh Zoo. And Yeah,
Didn't realize you guys had an issue.
So frequent listeners of the show already know my thoughts on Nils Olaf, but basically what pisses me off about Nils Olaf is that the Norwegians have a historic alliance with Scotland. There's a Viking connection that goes way back, and more specifically during World War II, the Norwegian government went in exile to Scotland, and that's where the troops were hanging out. And so they, as a cute thing, the King of Norway at some point donated a penguin to the Edinburgh Zoo, and he made it like an ensign or something. But whenever the King of Norway swings by, he keeps promoting this stupid flightless bird who's too goddamn dumb to fly. And now the bird has gone from like knight to it's now a lance corporal in the Norwegian army. And if this keeps happening, it will eventually, like within about 15 years, it'll become the highest ranking soldier in the Norwegian army. And what infuriates me is my highest accolade to date is Eagle Scout that I got at age 16. I've never been knighted.
Are you afraid that Norway is trying to take back Scotland?
Honestly, much as I love Scotland, it could use some Norwegians coming over to stir the gene pool. I'd be fine with that. I think it would. They could do with a little bit of shaking up with the DNA over there. No, I'm just pissed off.
It's not going to be a quantum improvement in terms of food. I mean, to go from haggis to lutefisk is not a great leap.
It goes from fried sheep guts to raw fish. That's true.
Rotten fish.
Yeah, the cuisine's not going to be great.
Good.
No, I'm just angry that this bird is outpacing me. That I'm a 36-year-old man and my resume is literally less impressive than this stupid bird. Who's
being trained for the action in the Falklands or something?
Yeah, maybe he did kill a guy. I don't know. Joe, who's your arch nemesis?
I don't really have one.
Okay. My bad. Okay, so it's just
I get along with everybody.
Yeah, nice. Okay, good. All right, cool. So it's just me.
I don't have a nemesis. I'm really,
But I'll tell you this. I have enough emotional stability that when Sir Nils Olaf dies, I'm not going to go kill a possum and then fly across the Atlantic to throw it into the Edinburgh Zoo.
You should put dead Arkansans on his grave.
American arrested for schlepping dead farmer from Arkansas into Edinburgh Zoo. And I'm like, I didn't kill him. I just dug him up. And by the way, he would find it hilarious because he did this for 20 years after his nemesis died. If anything, I'm respecting the corpse of this farmer.
Yes, very interesting.
Just get part of his gangrenous toe.
All right, final story. Russian Orthodox Church considers ending blessings for nuclear weapons. Now, I'll say this is the home team. This is my background, and I did not know that the Russian Orthodox Church does this, but apparently this is kind of standard procedure going back to the Cold War, where, they'd have those big old Soviet parades where they'd have the nukes and all of that, and then they'd have like a kind of constipated-looking Russian on a balcony waving at everybody. So a part of that parade would involve whatever bishops hadn't been murdered by the horrible totalitarian commie regime to be trotted out and throw some holy water on these nukes. And now...
Do the Orthodox do holy water?
Yeah, they do holy water. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Apparently in nuke blessings as well. And there's a couple of bishops that, to their credit,
is it holy heavy water?
You got to be really people don't know this, but atomic energy actually involves you have to have sanctity particles in order to make the fusion process occur. A couple of bishops have been like, hey guys, maybe
Jesus
we should
not like this.
Yeah, maybe I feel like I've been reading this book about Jesus, and I feel like if Jesus had access to a nuclear weapons silo, he would not revel in it. He would at least he'd think about turning him off. So and my thought is reading this. I am a win-win thinker, right? I'm a problem solver, and this is the win-win solution. Is they quit blessing the nukes and they just start cursing our nukes, and I think that would be fine. I think that would actually be morally acceptable to all parties.
Are they good at curses, the Russian Orthodox? I always think of that as Jews for cursing.
And the Roma? Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, and the Roma, exactly.
Rasputin could have done something.
I think the deal is if you go rogue as an Orthodox priest, then you become really good at curses. I think if you still got keys to the plane, you're not super good at cursing. Because I lived in Scotland for a while, and Carlisle, which is not in Scotland at the moment, but used to be in Scotland, they had in the 15th century, they got in some sort of trade dispute with Glasgow. So the Bishop of Glasgow came down and cursed them Like he wrote this like epic monologue, like
You're
cursing.
now in Lancashire.
Yeah,
you
they just
bastard.
like calling upon all all of the
May
saints
you be English to the
curse
end of your days.
Yeah, exactly. So this, and everybody forgot about this, and then in like 2004, some Carlisle historian found this and thought it was hilarious and sent it to the city council. So the Carlisle City Council also thought it was hilarious. So they made like a big bronze placard with all of the words from this 14th century Glaswegian curse on it and put it in the middle of the town, which promptly flooded. And then the football team lost for like 5 successive years. And I'm like, what did you think was going to happen, you morons? You flaunted a curse. It's okay to make fun of it, but don't flaunt it. Anyway,
Wow.
Nukes are bad.
I was thinking when I saw the thing with the Orthodox Church people, I was just thinking, because the Russians had this program in like the 70s where they were trying to find peaceful uses of nuclear bombs. So they were making reservoirs
like gardening
and
Draining
and
the
their goal was,
RLC.
because the RLC disappeared because they were irrigating all these rivers to grow cotton in the desert. So what they decided they were going to try to do was to redirect Siberian rivers with nuclear bombs to refill the RLC. And
Nothing could
been there, 'cause I
possibly
used
go
to work
wrong
in
here.
Russia, in Kazakhstan, where they have all the test sites, and they have the test sites where they have all these nuclear reservoirs.
Yeah, I'm with Jeremy. Nothing could possibly go wrong. How can this result with?
Hey, it's government. They're good at coming up with solutions to the
unintended
environment
consequences.
and climate change.
Were they?
If you want a solution to the environment, exactly, call the government. They'll solve it.
Yeah.
They'll solve it to death.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah, I got it. Like obligatory plug here. The Soviet Union was way worse to the environment than good old capitalism was. Like capitalism, like the point at which you can afford latte and send your kids to college, you start worrying about the environment. When everybody's poor and like getting poked around by a totalitarian dictator, they don't care. They just don't care about the environment at all. And people forget about the Soviet Union destroyed a sea. There's a sea that's gone. Sure. Did they ever nuke the river, Joe?
Did they ever?
Did they ever nuke the river? Did they go through?
No,
okay.
no. They were experimenting, making reservoirs,
which are now all filled with like 3-headed fish, I assume. Like that's.
There are some fish with problems, but they're actually getting better now. It's actually interesting that the parts of Kazakhstan where they tested these 500 surface nuclear bombs. Like if you go to Google Earth and look at it, you see big X's. Giant X's, that was the target that they were aiming at. That's all you see from a distance. And I used to work with the people there looking at seeing if there's any after effects and so forth. It turns out that part of Kazakhstan is now safer than most of Kazakhstan where they have natural uranium.
Really?
Well, that makes sense. I know that, what do you call it, the Chernobyl, the wildlife is doing extremely well. I don't know if it's because of hormesis or because there's no people around to shoot and eat them or feed them plastic. But
is the idea that like deer just don't have a long enough lifespan to get cancer, so they're doing like if you have people living in Chernobyl, because I'm told if you visit Chernobyl and you sit on a bench, you instantly go sterile.
I've been there several times, and
of course you have. Joe.
It's not that bad, but I mean, if you touch metal, it's still hot. So that's true.
Wow.
But if you are just going in, there's a lot of strontium-90 in like moss and stuff on the ground, and stuff. But the thing is that the plant stayed open for 20 years.
Wait, what?
Right after the accident.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Because there's other nuclear reactors there. There were thousands of people there every day, and the death rate's actually lower than for most industries in the Soviet Union. And it's the fear and stress-related deaths were actually higher than the nuclear-related deaths.
I have a hunch that nuclear-related deaths are just way overrated by
they are.
human fear.
Radiophobia is worse than the radiation.
I'm guessing you guys either know or are fans of Matt Ridley. I'm guessing based on
very much so.
Yeah, so I'm a big Matt Ridley fan, and he's come on the program a couple of times, and in his. I don't think it was in the Rational.
He's a Viscount, isn't he? He's a British lord.
He's he'll be on the program here in a few weeks. I also just interviewed Lord Barton Rees, who's the Astronomer Royal of the United Kingdom. So I got to say, for as dismal as 2020 has been, my lordship networking game has just tripled very, very quickly. I'm now friends with multiple British lords. Matt Ridley's great though. He's just a really, really, in addition to being a great author, he's a really nice guy. I would love to just hang out with him. And in I think it's his latest book. He talks about how he crunched the numbers, or he found the numbers. Nukes are nuclear power kills less people statistically than coal, oil. It's the least deadly, and that's including Chernobyl, and that's including Fukushima. that even when you add in those,
it killed like 2 people or whatever.
The flood killed 30,000 people, but that wasn't unless.
And we didn't do that. That was God.
Right. Yes, exactly. The only way you can trace that back to us is if we woke up Godzilla with our nuclear weapons and he like splashed the water. But that's the only way. Otherwise, it was like 2 people.
It's probably coming the way this year's going.
Yeah, I assume that will be
bingo card.
That will be the fourth quarter. Is my guess is either Godzilla or aliens, because I can't fathom that way of smooth sailing between now and November. All right, guys, I think we've hit literally every relevant headline of this week, and so I will wrap it up. Joe Terwilliger, it was great to talk to you, and
Pleasure.
I look forward to having you on again, because I feel like I've only scratched the surface of Joe Terwilliger based on just a number of references you made of like, yeah, you've been to Chernobyl multiple times. Of course you have, Joe. Great. Jeremy, always a pleasure. Thank you for coming back on.
Very welcome. I feel like I've done my duty in introducing you to probably one of the most interesting human beings on the planet, Joe Terwilliger.
Nice, great.
And
lies, all lies. I'm really boring.
Before we leave, do you guys have anywhere you want to point anybody? Do you have any projects coming up? Joe, do you want to try and do some recruiting for Columbia University?
I'm good.
They're okay. The matriculation rate's still pretty high? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much, gang.
Okay, good talking to you again, Andrew.